Hi, everyone. How are you? I hope all is well. And in yet another week of handing on the faith to those we love, our little disciples. Uh, the readings these weeks have been about parables and the Gospels and, um, just learning. And these, we call it ordinary time. I don't think it's so ordinary because we're learning really about things that um, are really important. The meat of our faith, our discipleship, and how do we do that? It's not just all celebration. It's like really sometimes we have to um, tangle with ourselves, and that's a good thing, and see where we stand with certain things and see where God fits into all of it. So no different from this coming week. We have a parable, and you know, it's it's about the Pharisee and the tax collector. And the Pharisees were the teachers, and they had not a lot of knowledge and they taught. What was the issue with the Pharisees for many of them is that they weren't humble. They couldn't make a mistake. I think probably they were so ingrained with the law, believing in that and trying to get it across that they forgot the other pieces that go with that, the human pieces. And of course, the tax collector, who is certainly a marginalized person in Jesus's cultural society, Jesus kind of, says, this is the one who has it right. How do you deal with that? We see, or what we think we see, are injustices. Sometimes injustices are very real that we need to correct. And sometimes injustices could be kind of, you know, um, shadowed. We're not really sure if it's an injustice. It sounds right on a human level, but Jesus always calls us to go deeper, to dive deeper. And that's the use of these parables in ordinary time. So this one again, like I said, is no different, and it's kind of surprising, I would think, for the Pharisees to hear. And maybe this is why they had such a difficult time trying to understand Jesus. Jesus didn't make sense for the Pharisee. Jesus was really radical in many ways because again they were so stuck on the law that they couldn't see the gray. It was always the black and white. So Jesus offers us the gray a lot of times. And in my experience, I've learned life is gray. Very, not very often is it black and white. And we get this gray that we have to work through, as I said before. We have to muddle through it. So the difference, I think we're here, the problem in this gospel with the Pharisee and the tax collector is that the Pharisees don't seem to have a lot of humility. I have to be right, and that's it. And I know we have met many people like that in our lives. You just can't move them. They're so, for whatever insecure reason or whatever it is that they need to hang on to that black and white, that's what they have to do. But Jesus is saying no, Jesus is more about the gray area. And, you know, it seems as though the Pharisee has all this great self-esteem and confidence. And yeah, I'm so sure. The Pharisees' confidence is in the law, not in themselves. And if they shake or move from that, what they know to be the law, it gets them very insecure. And Jesus is saying, no, you need to turn to me, not to the law. Yeah, we need to follow laws, but Jesus is saying, come to me because I am meek and humble of heart. That's who we want to turn to. So when we talk and deal with our grandchildren, we're very into, or should be, I think, oh no, certainly I know my children are very concerned with my grandchildren's self-esteem, and absolutely. And it makes me almost chuckle because when I was a little girl, and I did something, good or worthwhile of praise, my father would do it all the time. He was a great unconditional lover. And my mother would say, don't do that too much, you'll get a swollen head. And we don't want people to be obnoxious, absolutely, or so overly conscious, but we need to feel good about ourselves. And Jesus wants us to feel good about ourselves, but it has to be a healthy sense of self-esteem. You don't get rewarded for things you didn't do. You don't want it to have a sense of um, being false. It has to be authentic. So for the younger children, that's kind of easy. That's, you're great, you're wonderful, we know that. But again, you still need to be authentic because they know that if you're not. For the older children, it can be a little more difficult because they're so aware of injustices around them and they see it. And it's always great to have that conversation with them. What are they seeing that's unjust? What do they see that it might be an healthy or unhealthy self-esteem? What do they need to build up their confidence and self-esteem? Because that's who Jesus wants. We are creating disciples for them to go out and evangelize and to tell the good news. They don't have that sense of confidence or good, healthy sense of self-esteem, they're not going to be able to do it. So part of our ministry to them is to build them up in that way, making sure it's real and that they deserve it. Nice job, all of that kind of things that we are familiar with. This also comes with a sense of giving people being aware of human dignity, and because that's how God sees us. God sees us with a great amount of human dignity because God created us and God was happy with all that God created. So to be aware of human dignity, and everyone deserves it. And even the Pharisee deserves it to be treated that way. And those Pharisees in our lives and in our world today, we need to treat them as well with human dignity. There's a lot of things going on today that have nothing to do with human dignity, and that's a shame. um, Pope Leo is well, all the popes, and I mean, in my lifetime, have always proposed, this whole idea of human dignity. Human dignity is so important, and it is, and that's how we have. Just because God created everyone, we have to look at each other with this sense of godliness, and that's one thing we need to teach through these lessons. Those who we teach to be training uh, into disciples. Bottom line is God loves all of us. Pharisee, tax collector, uh, the unjust judge that we heard about last Sunday, the widow, all these people, in these people we read in the Gospels or the readings, God loves each one, and shows no preference. No one is more important than the other. Another great message to the Pharisees, you're not better than everybody else because you have X, Y, and Z. In God's eyes, we're all equal. And you can have conversations with older kids about that, really good conversations. Little ones, you can start them on it, bring into where they're, depending on where they are in their, growth period or age period, what they can understand. At this point, you probably have a good sense of what it is they understand and what they can't understand, what they comprehend. So bring that gently into them. And, uh, no one's any better than anyone else. And I know in this world of great competition and great, maybe just a need of wanting to feel special and important in someone's eyes, um, the reality is that God loves each of us equally and loves us all, no matter what and who we are. So also this coming week, it's going to be All Saints Day and All Souls Day coming up. And I believe some of the lessons treat that. I would, especially for the older and well, even younger kids, Souls Day, All Saints Day seems, I mean, my experience seems to have taken over, kind of thing. But the emphasis on All Souls Day is also important. And especially for those children or disciples or young people that we're teaching, if they've been through a loss, someone close to them has died, someone they love has died. All Saints Day is All Saints Day as well, but also All Souls Day. They need to know that the church brings us to our attention, those who we've loved, who we've missed, and recognizes grief. So it's always important when, for young kids or young children, if they've had a personal loss, to kind of deal with that. What greater way to deal with that than to deal with that in the context of faith and belief, readings, the church, and what the church offers and what the church says about that. So I would, certainly bring that up and see if that's the case. And we all have questions about death. So don't be surprised if they come up. Handle them the best way you can, and probably through your own experience, you will find the answers. Have a good week, and I will see you next week. Take care. God bless.